Judgment. Welcome to today's show. I want to thank a subscriber on the website for sharing this with me. I just figured this needs to be shared because I could totally see this as being one of the narratives that they start to use for global warming, right? I mean, I could see it. I mean, just they'll convince people somehow, and these liberal people will actually go along with this. But a subscriber named Sabar Ahmed on the website shared this. He shares a lot of great stuff. So does everybody over on the website. I highly recommend you join the website. Anyone who's having issues getting on the website, just go to acallforanuprising.com. I'm just going to say it. Why not? Because I'm not sure if the bounce link works that well. It's brand new, so I have to make sure everything on that end is working. But you could just go to the main source for it. And over there, you'll, of course, be able to share this stuff, see these types of stories, and, interact with other like-minded people, which is something they're trying to take away here on YouTube. Obviously, they already have. But I highly recommend you join it. There's also exclusive content over there. Anything that gets banned from YouTube goes up over there as well, so you don't have to worry about that. So check it out if you haven't. Again, it's callforanuprising.com. Okay, so look at this story. I mean, can't you see this happening? We are literally human centipedes. Pigs can breathe through their buttholes, and so can you, scientists say. Oh, and it's not just one article. There's a bunch of articles out there because this magazine, science.com, now it's called Med, it's published this article where they're showing a pig breathing out of his rear end, and they're just letting us know that we can breathe out of our rear ends too at some point. And they're going to begin trials this year so that, because it's such a struggle for us to breathe out of our nose, and maybe you'll have a runny nose one day and some congestion. So wouldn't you rather have the alternative to breathe out of your rear end? I mean, don't mind the fact that you're probably in underwear and pants. I guess maybe this is a way for people to just take off their clothing. And really pretty much live in a nude society. I mean, why not at this point with the nonsense that they're pushing? I've talked about that in the past too. That'd be something to normalize. Clothes are offensive. Wearing clothes is offensive because, why should I cover up and shame myself with clothing? I mean, you can already see this Sodom and Gomorrah continue that way. But, I mean, how did the stuff comes out like this? And we're supposed to read this and be like, this is an amazing discovery. That humans could breathe out of their buttholes. Well, there's already many people in Washington, D.C. who breathe out of their buttholes. They also eat out of their buttholes as well. But, I mean, this will just be something I could see. They say, hey, we can do this. And people will literally be like, I'd love to try it. I mean, there's such a dumbed-down society. Why not? What's the purpose of it? I mean, no real purpose. Maybe to just continue to make human science experiments. I mean, they're already doing it right now. We all know what they're doing as far as that goes. And, of course, to degrade humans. I mean, this is literally the movie Human Centipede. If you've ever seen it or seen a trailer, I've actually never seen it because I cannot sit through something like that. It's absolutely revolting. But the trailers for it, where people literally are having their faces sewn onto other people's butts, and people are like, "Wow, this is a crazy horror movie." Oh, I wonder where these ideas come from. You don't think that they've already done stuff like this? If you look back at Operation Paperclip and you look at some of the stuff that the quote-unquote scientists from World War II were experimenting on over in Germany and then over here, you'll see that they were literally sewing people together and things like that. So we already know that they probably would love to just glue all of our faces to one another's buttholes, but at the same time, we would all love to take their faces and punt them as far as we can. So I guess we're even in a sense. So this article says, pink, fleshy, and round. The anus, I can't make this up. This is Vice, by the way, which is a pretty big publication. Pink, fleshy, and round. The anus has a lot in common with the mouth and is every bit as important. Well, maybe for the fudge packers, but I don't really see much in common with my rear end and my mouth. I'm not usually throwing up out of my mouth every day, but on the other hand, we all use the toilet. But the similarities don't just stop there. Buttholes can also help animals breathe, new research suggests. A team of scholars in Japan has found that pigs can absorb oxygen through the anus in studies exploring treatment for people with respiratory conditions. Oh, is that the excuse we're going to use? You have respiratory issues? Okay. Well, why don't we try this experiment? We're going to make it so that you can breathe out of your rear end. Okay, sign me up. It sounds safe. I mean, really? That's the excuse? People with respiratory conditions? Look, if I have respiratory conditions and my only option is to breathe out of my rear end, you could call Dr. Kevorkian, okay, and take care of me that way. Or I'd rather just lay there and not be able to breathe and die than breathe out of my rear end, right? Imagine, too, being one of these people who ends up getting experiments on, like they go to someone's house. Like, how do you break this to your family? Hey, breathing okay? Breathe it. I'm breathing out my rear ends. I mean, they could talk into their rear end too. That wouldn't surprise me either, this human centipede experiment that's going on. So, by pumping oxygen and oxygenated liquid through animals' buttholes into their intestines, the researchers found that they could survive without breathing through their lungs. Oh, it's so impressive, the doctor says, because we never thought of breathing from the gut, but it's possible. No, I have never thought of this. No. And I don't want to think about it, but let's make it a real thing. So last year, his team, this doctor, and collaborators from Nagoya University Graduate School and Kyoto, is this what they're doing now at graduate school, at these scientific schools? Like, we know, all of us who are awake know that there is a cure for cancer, of course. But isn't this what the doctors are supposed to be figuring out? They're like, hey, how do we figure out how to cure some of these diseases? Can we cure, why is there a spike in autism, et cetera, even though we know the answer already? No, they're trying to figure out how we can breathe out of our buttholes. So that's interesting. What's next? We're going to breathe out of our penises too and our vagina? Yeah? Okay. Oh, man. Last year, this team at the University of Nagoya and Kyoto Respiratory Surgery published their study focusing on mice. Now they're looking to submit their research on pigs, which are closer to humans in physiology and genetic makeup, to a U.S. medical journal. In August, they reported this. The scientists were inspired to explore the unconventional breathing method by loaches, a freshwater fish that can use its intestines to breathe. They found that in extensive hypoxic conditions, when there isn't enough oxygen available at the tissue level, the structure of loaches' gut tissues change to allow for easier breathing. In order to see if mammals would also breathe through their anus in oxygen-deprived conditions, Take-Me first tested mice. The findings published in the journal Med last year were stunning. He said, oh, they're stunning, all right. He says, I'm always very skeptical about the results, but it turns out every time we do the tests, we can we can get reproducible data sets, said Takabe, who practices medicine also at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. So isn't that good to know? Anyone in Cincinnati, if you have kids and you're thinking about taking them to something goes wrong, the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, don't worry, one of the head scientists there, head doctors there, is also performing experiments where we could breathe right out of our buttholes. So that's thrilling. And they have a picture here, which is just, am I in the Onion? Yeah, somebody's butt, it looks like they have a syringe or one of those things you use, for a turkey on Thanksgiving. They have PFC that they're dumping into a bathtub. They have a mouse, a rat, and a pig swimming in there. I believe that they have masks on, but you see this? Are those masks? They literally have. That's good. I'm glad we're taking the precautions. So we have these animals in a bathtub together, probably crapping in the bathtub, swimming in it, and a bacterial infection can form. But I'm glad they're wearing their masks in case they catch the 1-9er. Unbelievable. They have the loach, the impact of the gut. Look at this. This is pure insanity. And then who's funding this, by the way? Government grants, which pretty much means your tax money. The study has implications for treating patients who suffer respiratory failure. All they have to do, honestly, is start telling people, put it on the news, say that, so-and-so had respiratory problems. Just keep playing the same story with a different actor. And instead of doing the basic stuff that doesn't work, they'll say they started breathing out of their butthole and they cured themselves 100%. And these idiots will line up and they'll be like, that's great. And they'll be like, why would this guy criticize it? This guy, why would they criticize the fact that I'm breathing out of my butt? I feel better. What? Humans are literally okay with becoming science experiments, as, again, we're seeing right now. So normally when a patient needs oxygen, doctors opt for a mechanical ventilation, in which a machine pushes air into the lungs through the windpipe. They can also use another technique called extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, when blood is pumped out of the body and reoxygenated with a machine. But this procedure carries the risk of bleeding and blood clots. So it sounds safe. I know something else that carries the risk of blood clots, but I won't get into it. And as many emergency rooms saw during the early stages of you-know-what, it's not always possible to get your hands on a ventilator. With this in mind, Takabe thought, why not try the back door? Literally. Yeah. To test mammals, Takabe and his co-authors first pumped oxygen gas into the anuses of oxygen-deprived mice. They found that the mice that received the treatment lived longer than the ones that didn't. Then they took the experiment one step further by eliminating barriers that could prevent oxygen uptake in the gut. They scrapped the mice's mucosa, the innermost layer of the gastrointestinal tract, and injected the oxygen to the animals. This helped the rodents survive even longer. What's more, unlike untreated animals, the mice with their mucosa removed stopped gasping for air altogether and showed no signs of cardiac arrest. Wow. I mean, this sounds like, this could really work. In a 50-kilogram pig, when we provide the size of liquid oxidation to the butt, they can survive 30 minutes, even when experience lethal respiratory failure condition. Oh, wow, an extra 30 minutes? Wow. Sign me up. Holy moly. I mean, do I need to read further? This is what humanity has turned into for these sick monsters. And if you ever studied these sick scientists that have come on, I'm sure most of you have with Operation Paperclip, etc. Stuff I've covered over the years. If you're new to all of it, this is what happened after World War II, which really set this country up to be a giant science experiment. I mean, the stuff that they were doing then was like beyond comprehension, how sick they were. Well, look at the world now. The people are just sicker now. So just imagine the stuff that they're thinking of trying to do. And then they're just going to, this will be how doctors start treating people in this new world order. Right? Oh, we don't have ventilators anymore. We have, we'll put a tube coming out of your butt and you'll breathe right out of there. And we'll take pictures of you and we'll get off to it because we love to torment God's creation. We love to dismantle human beings because that's pretty much what they're doing. So get ready to breathe out of your butts. Another way they could twist it, of course, is that it's carbon emissions, right? Would you be shocked if this gets linked to, well, cow farts and pig farts are dangerous for the climate and cause climate change, but if we all breathe out of our buttholes, we could really save a couple years on the climate. What? And the climate enthusiasts will be like, sign me up immediately. And these people are so far gone, it's embarrassing. I don't even know if they're the same species at this point. So get ready to breathe out of your buttholes, ladies and gentlemen, just like everybody in Congress already does. I thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless all of you and your families.